Rock on, Splodge! Many weeks went by. Splatter and Dodge continued to shunt trucks in the yard. There were a few engines that were starting to warm up to Splatter and Dodge. But there were others who didn't trust them at all. Splatter and Dodge knew they had to continue proving their reliability and usefulness, and in time, they would gain more trust. One morning, Sir Topham Hatt came to see them.
The two of you seem to be doing quite well, but I believe that you need a change. Instead of working at the shunting yard, I'm going to send you to Farquhar Quarry.
Farquhar Quarry, sir? Asked Splatter.
Yes, Mavis is rushed off her wheels and needs all the help she can get, so I would like you two to help her for the next few days.
Yes, sir, Dodge said proudly. We'll be happy to help.
Splendid, smiled Sir Topham Hatt. Now off you go. You don't want to keep Mavis waiting.
Splatter and Dodge headed off towards Farquhar Quarry. Mavis will be watching those two like a hawk, smirked James. She'll whip them into shape. Mavis has got a knack for spotting any mischief from a mile away. With her sharp eyes and no-nonsense attitude, they won't stand a chance. The other engines groaned. It had become tiring for them to hear James talking and complaining about Splatter and Dodge all the time. Even Gordon was getting tired of it. Splatter and Dodge met up with Boko at a red signal.
Quarry duty for a few days, said Boko. Well, you'll get along with Mavis just fine. When she first arrived on Sodor, Mavis was full of her own ideas that landed her into trouble. A long time ago, one of her plans put Toby in peril. When Mavis saved Toby, she realized how foolish she had been.
Just like us when we were working for Diesel 10, said Dodge.
Anyway, continued Boko, after learning from her mistakes and getting some advice from Toby, Mavis became a better engine.
Do you think she'll share some advice with us? Asked Splatter.
Yes, I am sure she would be more than happy to share her advice with you, smiled Boko, since she has accumulated a great deal of experience and will be able to offer valuable insights.
The signal changed, and Splatter and Dodge continued their way to Farquhar Quarry. Mavis was waiting patiently for Splatter and Dodge. There were lots of trucks that needed to be shunted and loaded up. At last, Splatter and Dodge arrived at the quarry. Hello, you must be Mavis, smiled Splatter. We're ready to assist you with a heavy workload, smiled Dodge. Wonderful! I know you're eager to work, said Mavis. However, I would like to take you to around the quarry first, and I'm going to tell you some ground rules. Understood? Yes, boss. I mean, Mavis, said Splatter. Right then, follow me. After Mavis took Splatter and Dodge around the quarry, they set to work at once. The three engines worked together efficiently, ensuring the trucks were shunted and loaded up quickly. Their teamwork made the process smooth and seamless, and throughout the day, Mavis shared her advice with Splatter and Dodge. Thomas arrived to take some trucks of stone to Brendam docks. So, how are they doing? Asked Thomas. Very well, said Mavis. They told me about their past history of working with Diesel 10 and how they regretted it. But I simply said, forget about the past and focus on the future. Hey, Thomas, called Dodge. Your trucks are loaded up and ready to go. Why, thank you, Dodge, said Thomas. Thomas coupled up to the trucks and set off towards Brendam docks. Splatter and Dodge continued to work very hard as the sun was setting. Their dedication was unwavering, and they knew that every minute counted. Mavis was impressed. That night, Mavis spoke kindly to them.
Your hard work today has truly paid off, she said. Let's keep this momentum going. Splatter and Dodge smiled. Working with Mavis has been a pleasure for them so far. They knew that with such dedication, success was within reach. Splatter and Dodge put in a lot of effort for many days. They worked tirelessly to complete their tasks, demonstrating dedication and perseverance.
You know, Splatter said, working with Mavis has been wonderful. She's always been so supportive and understanding.
Yes, agreed Dodge. She has a way of making everyone feel valued and heard.
There's some trucks that need to be filled up, said Mavis. Who wants to take care of that? Allow me, Mavis, Splatter said eagerly.
Wonderful, smiled Mavis. Can I have a message from the manager? Tomorrow will be your last day helping out here. Splatter and Dodge were stunned. Tomorrow? Repeated Dodge. Did we do something wrong? Not at all, soothed Mavis. Once tomorrow has come and gone, I will be able to handle things on my own, but I appreciate the help. And Mavis rolled away. Splatter and Dodge were disappointed. The past few days had been great, and they enjoyed working with Mavis. As much as they wished to continue working with her, their time together was limited. The next day, Mavis, Splatter, and Dodge were pushing and pulling trucks where they needed to be. Despite the heavy workload, they managed to stay on schedule, demonstrating their efficiency and teamwork. All the same, Splatter and Dodge were feeling glum that this was their last day helping out at Farquhar Quarry.
Guess it's back to the shunting yard with us tomorrow,
Splatter said sadly. Where barely anyone talks to us or trusts us, added Dodge.
You know, there's always a chance that things might get chaotic at the quarry. If that happens, I know the perfect diesels to help me, sympathized Mavis.
That cheered Splatter and Dodge up. Well, a little. Meanwhile, at Titna's sheds, James was fuming.
Slow goods! Slow goods! Oh, I hate slow goods trains!
Oh, really? You don't say! I didn't know that, said Henry sarcastically.
That will do, scolded Emily. James, I know you want to show the VIPs around the island, but Sir Topham Hatt chose Henley. Or perhaps Henry and I can.
If you're suggesting that we should secretly switch jobs, we know the answer to that, huffed Henry. Come on, James, said his driver. The trucks are waiting for us. James steamed away in a huff. James had to take on more coal. He puffed angrily under a coal chute, and his tender was filled.
Let's get this dirty job over with,
huffed James. Meanwhile, Mavis just shunted a long line of stone trucks. These trucks need to get to Brenham Docks, she said to Splatter and Dodge. Care to do the honors?
Oh, yes, please,
said Splatter. Certainly, said Dodge. I knew that I could count on you two, Mavis said. Splatter and Dodge were coupled up to the trucks and set off towards the docks. Splatter and Dodge were approaching a red signal and saw Henry nearby. Both diesels knew what they had to do. Henry let out a long sigh as Splatter and Dodge slowed to a stop. Listen, Henry, we have something to say to you, said Dodge. Go on, Henry said.
We would like to apologize, explained Splatter. It was unacceptable how we treated you years ago.
Henry was silent for a moment. Then he finally said, Thanks for owning up. The signal changed, and Splatter and Dodge continued on their way. Further down the line, James passed Kronk Station when he started to feel unwell. He coughed and wheezed, and his face was green. bad call, James's fireman said. We'd better call for help.
We don't need help, coughed James. What we need is a shortcut. That will solve our problem.
The driver and fireman tried to reason with James, but he wouldn't listen, so they carried on. Soon they were approaching an old tunnel.
Got to keep going. Got to keep going,
Wheezed James. But halfway through the tunnel, James came to a stop.
I can't go on,
Cried James. So much for your shortcut, snapped his driver.
Stuck in a tunnel. I hope Henry doesn't hear about this,
Sulked James.
Ouch! You don't have to throw things.
James, his driver said worryingly. We didn't. James realized what was happening. The tunnel was collapsing. James was miserable. There he was, stuck in a tunnel, feeling very ill and helpless.
Now I'm going to get covered in dirt, rocks, and worms. I guess I deserved after being so...
Before James could finish, he was interrupted by two diesel horns.
It can't be.
But it was. At the end of the tunnel was Splatter and Dodge. James's driver and fireman rushed out of the tunnel and explained everything.
Don't worry, James,
called Splatter.
We'll rescue you. Just leave me here,
complained James.
You two are not strong enough.
Nonsense. We're going to try anyway, scolded Dodge. So Splatter and Dodge coupled up and pulled as hard as they could. Nothing happened. But then, James slowly began to move.
Keep going,
called James.
Keep going.
Splatter and Dodge pulled harder and harder till finally they pulled James out of the old tunnel just in time.
We did it!
Cheered Splatter.
You saved me,
James said slowly.
After how I treated you.
Well, no one wants to be covered in mud and all kinds of insects, smiled Dodge.
I'm sorry for my behavior. I didn't think you wanted to change. You two proved me wrong. That's all right, said Splatter. Is there any chance that you two are heading to Brendam Docks?
Yes, we are, smiled Dodge. We'll help you get there. Boko just arrived at Brendam Docks when he stared in amazement. There was Splatter and Dodge pulling their stone train and pushing James and his slow goods. James told Boko about what happened. Well now, that's some news worth sharing, chuckled Boko. The news was spreading quickly, and with all their might, they rescued James. They even apologized for how they treated me years ago, Henry said. It seems that my opinion about Splatter and Dodge has changed, smiled Gordon. When Sir Topham had heard the news, he immediately went to see Splatter and Dodge. A fine piece of work, he smiled. For your heroic efforts, you two will stay on Sodor and get a new coat of paint. Splatter and Dodge were delighted. Thank you, sir, said Dodge. And if you don't mind, we have a request, said Splatter. Next day, Mavis was pushing some empty trucks into a siding when she heard Splatter and Dodge's horns. Splatter? Dodge? What are you doing here? She asked. I'm not busy today. Well, yesterday, we were thinking, said Dodge. We asked Sir Topham Hatt if we could stay with you permanently, and he said yes, smiled Splatter. Mavis was thrilled to hear the news. Now Splatter and Dodge were happy as can be. They have a new home and a ton of friends. It is true that they can be a little dim at times, but they can also be extremely useful.